Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first, supply constrained is the new holy grail as big tech's GPU stockpiling creates a two-speed economy. We'll explore how this strategic hoarding throttles the supply chain and widens the gap between AI-driven industries and traditional sectors. Second, Klarna's AI replaces 800 employees as generative AI threatens graphic design, forcing creatives to develop provably human styles. Today, we'll take a closer look at this industry-wide disruption and its implications for creative professionals and the future of design education. Third, A-School's AI security system mistakes a Doritos bag for a handgun, yet its developer OmniAlert claims it operated as designed. We'll analyse why this defence reveals the dangerous gap between AI design and real-world consequences and how it impacts the school security market. Fourth, AI video generation's hidden cost is revealed, as a single data centre can use as much water as a town of 50,000. This discussion will reveal how massive water usage connects to the global AI race and what it means for the future of sustainable data centers. Fifth, a new patient-first AI app aims to become an advocate that chirps advice, opening a legal minefield for doctors and patients. In this episode, we'll break down this shift to a patient-first AI model and what it signals for medical liability and the doctor-patient dynamic. The two most important words this earnings season are not record profits or innovation. They're supply constrained. According to market analyst Jim Cramer, being supply constrained is the new holy grail for companies. When you have more demand than you can possibly supply, you have the power to raise prices. And right now, some of the biggest names in business are cashing in on this exact dynamic. We previously analysed the AI compute crunch and how choke points shape pricing power. The latest development is that supply constrained has become the on-the-ground translation of that thesis this earnings season. Intel's own chief financial officer admits the company is supply constrained for a number of its products, stating that industry supply has tightened materially. It's the same story for other tech giants like Micron, AMD, and Nvidia. They are all performing well because they simply can't make their products fast enough. A while back, we talked about Intel arming up with ASML's next-gen high-end AEUV tools at roughly $380 million each to secure capacity. Today's tightness is exactly why they're racing to lock those in. What's driving this, however, isn't just immediate use. Major tech companies like Microsoft and Meta are strategically stockpiling GPUs or graphics processing units to hedge against future shortages. Microsoft reportedly plans to nearly double its inventory to 1.8 million GPUs. This massive hoarding creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of scarcity. So the intense demand is real, but it's also being amplified by big players buying up everything they can just in case. We flagged this wave of cloud capital expenditure a while back. Today you can see it crystallize as inventory on balance sheets and shortages on the ground. This also creates a huge opening for competitors because NVIDIA's top-tier chips are so hard to get, customers are turning to alternatives. This is where a company like AMD shines. Its MI300X chip has become a compelling substitute, in part because it has 192 gigabytes of high bandwidth memory compared to NVIDIA's 80. That extra memory allows it to run larger, more complex AI models more efficiently, giving it a real performance advantage for certain tasks. The reason for this imbalance is a single force that has overwhelmed the global supply chain: the incredibly high storage and power needs of artificial intelligence. Demand has exploded so fast that the companies making the factory equipment didn't anticipate the sheer volume of orders, creating a massive bottleneck. We previously described this as an arms race. The tools makers underestimating orders is that rush hitting the factory doors. What we're seeing is a classic bullwhip effect rippling through the supply chain. A small increase in demand from consumers gets magnified into a huge, unpredictable wave of orders for the companies that make the manufacturing tools. For example, the Dutch company ASML is the only company in the world that makes the extreme ultraviolet or EUV machines needed to produce the most advanced chips. Their order backlog is now over 38 billion euros. As we discussed a while back, we saw a single quarter with 5.4 billion euros in new orders and early commitments for those high-NA systems. That surge is now embedded in this massive backlog. And remember, regulators have shifted from just blocking chips to policing access routes enforcement that makes access not just demand, the constraint That's why supply stays tight, even as orders shuffle geographically. And this shockwave isn't just contained to the tech world, it's hitting industrial titans as well. Boeing is expected to announce it's short on most of its planes. And GE Vernova is supply constrained on its power equipment, specifically the gas turbines needed to fuel the ever-growing crop of data centers that run our AI-powered world. We said a while back the energy crunch wasn't the only thing holding back AI. Here's the industrial side of that same constraint. The AI boom is creating an unprecedented power crunch. The demand for gas turbines from companies like GE, Vernova, and Siemens is so high that delivery backlogs now extend beyond 2029. Think about that. If a data center wants to expand today, it might have to wait 5 years just for the power generating hardware. After all, manufacturers are being cautious about building new factories, afraid they'll be left with empty plants if the AI boom cools off. This caution is creating a very real risk of regional power shortages. This all points to a fundamental power shift. We have more demand than supply across a host of critical industries. This dynamic is the new ticket for strong stock performance, and it is a trend that is not expected to change anytime soon. The broader impact for everyone is the creation of what some economists call a two-speed economy. In one lane, you have the AI-related industries with massive growth and pricing power. In fact, AI capital spending alone contributed over a full percentage point to US GDP growth recently. In the other lane, you have traditional non-tech sectors that face rising energy and equipment costs but don't get the same growth benefits. This widens the gap between industries and can ultimately drive inflation that affects all of us. Speaking of the immense demand driving this AI arms race, the software side is causing its own seismic shifts, especially in the job market. Get this. The World Economic Forum just dropped a bombshell prediction. By 2030, graphic design is set to become one of the fastest declining jobs on the planet. The reason? Artificial intelligence. Now, some people might hear this and think of the rise of desktop publishing in the 1980s, which also revolutionized the design industry. But believe it or not, this wave is fundamentally different. Desktop publishing gave designers better tools, but it still required a huge amount of technical skill to use them. Generative AI, on the other hand, lowers the skill floor to almost zero. You don't need to be a designer to create complex visuals anymore. You just need to write a good prompt. And a while back, we mentioned how even outside design candidates are already using AI to get ahead. That shift is bleeding directly into the hiring pipeline. And this isn't some distant future. Major brands are already jumping on board. Heinz used AI to generate images for a ketchup ad. Coca-Cola created a fully AI-generated commercial, and the fashion brand Mango faced backlash for using AI teen models in a campaign, with critics arguing it was taking jobs away from real people. We're seeing massive industry-wide adoption. A recent global survey found that an incredible 83% of creative professionals are already using generative AI tools in their work. So this isn't just a few big companies experimenting, it's a fundamental shift in how creative content is made. We previously analysed the job hunt side of this too. One candidate swapped in an AI-generated headshot and saw inbound messages from companies triple to quadruple. And a survey found that 96% of applicants who used AI in their application process reported getting callbacks. Adoption is accelerating on both sides of the table, employers and applicants. For recent graduates who spent years and thousands of dollars on their degrees, the ground is shifting beneath their feet. One graduate, after a year of job hunting, said she thought, "Oh God, what have I done? I've just spent all this money and time on a degree, but am I even going to get a chance to use it?" Another who was tempted to retrain as a paramedic said, "I've put all this effort in studying for 5 years for AI to come around now. It made me question the degree." And as we noted a while back, when AI polished applications and headshots can spike response rates, graduates aren't just competing with AI-powered companies, they're competing with AI-augmented peers in the same candidate pool. And it's not just the job market, it's an education crisis. Universities are struggling to keep up with the technology that evolves weekly. There's a huge debate happening right now in academia. Should they teach students how to use AI tools like prompt engineering, or should they double down on timeless principles like design theory, ethics, and critical thinking? A Rutgers study even found that while AI can help teach art analysis, it's a double-edged sword, raising all sorts of ethical questions that institutions are not prepared to answer. We've also seen how fuzzy the ethics are in practice. Even major platforms struggle with authenticity, with policies that say a photo must reflect your likeness while leaving a grey area about what that actually means. And the numbers get even more specific. This isn't just about marketing. The buy now, pay later company Klarna introduced an AI assistant that has now expanded to do the work equivalent of 800 human employees. 800. This highlights the cold, hard economics of good enough. For many businesses, especially for things like social media posts, internal presentations, or simple logos, AI-generated content is fast, cheap, and effective enough to replace human work. We're seeing this play out in real time. One European company used AI for its marketing messages and saw a 40% increase in customer response rates while cutting costs by 25%. When the financial incentive is that strong, the shift becomes inevitable. This all boils down to a new reality. Recent graduates are in direct competition with AI for entry-level jobs. As one put it, feeling threatened by AI is a real thing. You are competing against it. While some experts believe designers will adapt, the industry is now split. Employers are either hiring graduates to help them use AI, or they're looking for people with distinct human voices to stand out against the machine. So here's where it gets interesting. Because AI models are trained on the same massive data sets, their creative output can start to look very similar. Experts call this aesthetic homogenization, a world where everything has the same generic AI-generated feel. We previously analysed this same effect in hiring the Instagram face of professional identity, where AI headshots produce a polished, algorithmically ideal look that recruiters warn can read as inauthentic, and even a ZipRecruiter career expert called risky, while platforms sit in a murky grey zone over what counts as your likeness. In this new world, the practiced human hand and eye are no longer just a skill, they are a survival strategy. The goal for human designers is now to cultivate a provably human style, something so unique and full of personal voice that it's deliberately difficult for an AI to replicate. That human fingerprint is becoming the most valuable thing a creative can offer. While AI is reshaping creative industries, its deployment in the physical world is proving to have its own dramatic challenges. An AI system just mistook a bag of Doritos for a handgun, and the result was armed police pointing their weapons at a 16-year-old. You might be wondering how a sophisticated AI makes a mistake like that. Well, it comes down to the messy reality of computer vision. A crinkled metallic chip bag can have reflections and a shape, especially when stuffed in a pocket that mimics the visual features of a firearm. To overcome this, companies train their AI on what they call organic data, basically, tons of real-life footage from all sorts of environments to help the AI learn the difference between a real threat, well, a snack. But, as we see here, it's not a perfect science. After football practice, a Baltimore student named Tucky Allen finished a bag of chips and put the empty packet in his pocket. 20 minutes later, he was surrounded. In his own words, police showed up like 8 cop cars, and then they all came out with guns pointed at me talking about getting on the ground. He was told to get on his knees and was put in handcuffs. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. This wasn't just a simple AI error. This points to a classic failure of what's called a human-in-the-loop system. The idea is simple. An AI flags a potential threat, and a human expert quickly reviews it to prevent false alarms. It's supposed to be the safety net, but research shows these systems can fail. Humans can become over-reliant on the initial AI alert, or the communication process can break down, which is exactly what seems to have happened here. It creates a huge legal and ethical grey area. When it all goes wrong, who's to blame? The AI company, the human reviewer, or the school that acts on the alert? The AI system from a company called OmniAlert did send an alert. However, that alert was sent to human reviewers who quickly found there was no threat and cancelled it. The problem? The school principal reportedly missed this update, contacted the school's safety team, and that team ultimately called the police, triggering the massive response. And this is where psychology comes into play. Why would the principal escalate even after the alert was supposedly cancelled? It's a phenomenon researchers call automation bias, or the threat ratchet effect. The mere existence of an AI-generated alert creates a powerful psychological pressure. For a school administrator, it can feel psychologically and legally much riskier to ignore a potential threat, even a cancelled one, than to overreact. The technology creates a one-way path toward escalation, because the consequences of being wrong and not acting are so severe. The incident was resolved after police confirmed there was no weapon, but the student now says he waits inside after practice, stating he doesn't think it is safe enough to go outside, especially eating a bag of chips. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is the company's response. The company behind the AI, OmniAlert, released a statement that is an absolute bombshell. They expressed regret for the incident, but defended their technology, claiming the system operated as designed. They stated that while the object was later determined not to be a firearm, the process functioned as intended to prioritize safety through rapid human verification. The company's final word on an event that put a teenager at gunpoint over a snack: the system worked. Their statement shines a light on the massive and rapidly growing business of school security AI. This market is projected to grow from under $1 billion to over $1.6 billion by 2030. Companies are under intense competitive pressure to sell these systems to risk-averse schools. By stating the system operated as designed, the company is protecting itself. The AI flagged something, the human reviewed it, the process, in their view, worked, the breakdown happened later. This allows them to defend their product's integrity even when the real-world outcome was a disaster, exposing the dangerous gap between how a technology is designed to work in a lab versus how it plays out in a chaotic human environment. From one unintended consequence to another, those hyper-realistic AI videos flooding your social media have a huge hidden environmental cost. And interestingly enough, it's not what you think. A lecturer at the University of Oxford is warning that behind every deepfake video is quite a huge hidden impact on the environment. A while back, we talked about how the AI you use every day is drinking with data centers in Scotland alone, using enough tap water to fill 27 million half-litre bottles a year, a figure that has quadrupled since 2021. We framed it through the efficiency trap, or Jevons paradox. As the tech gets more efficient, we just use more of it, and the total footprint climbs. The latest development is that hyper-realistic video generation is accelerating that curve. The environmental toll actually happens at different stages. There's the massive one-time energy hit to train a foundation model in the first place. Research shows training a model like GP3 used enough electricity to power over 500 European homes for a year. But then there's the ongoing cost every single time someone like you or me uses the AI to create something. As we've discussed before, that's the cost that's adding up right now. It's not just about electricity, it's about water. Massive amounts of fresh water, not drinking water, cooling water to keep racks of servers from overheating. To put that into perspective for you, a single medium-sized data center can consume up to 110 million gallons of water a year for cooling. That's the same amount of water used by about 1,000 households. Some of the largest AI data centers can use as much as 5 million gallons per day, which is equivalent to a town of up to 50,000 people. Here's the deal. These videos aren't made on your phone. They are generated in massive data centers that can be located anywhere in the world. To keep those servers from overheating, they use enormous quantities of fresh water for cooling on an industrial scale. And remember what we mentioned before about data center metrics. You can chase a great PUE, power usage effectiveness, by leaning on evaporative cooling, but that often tanks your WUE, water usage effectiveness. It's a trade-off, and right now, water is losing, and the demand is exploding. One of these platforms, OpenAI Sora, was downloaded more than 1 million times in less than 5 days. So the thing is, OpenAI Sora model isn't actually a public app you can download. Those million downloads are for knockoff apps that use the name Sora to attract users. While these fake apps are much less powerful and use far less energy than the real thing, their popularity shows just how massive the public appetite is. The real high-end models like Sora require thousands of powerful computer chips running in a data center, and that's where the real water and energy cost lies. Classic efficiency trap: even as chips and cooling systems get better, the surge in use, especially for video, pushes total consumption higher. That's a deluge of new demand hitting these water-guzzling data centers. And the conflict isn't just theoretical, it's happening right now. According to Dr. Kevin Grech at Oxford, the UK government is pushing for an AI growth area in South Oxfordshire, but he calls this a massive problem, stating that apparently no one has thought where the water is going to come from that's going to cool down those servers. Continuing our last discussion about green tech hubs facing water trade-offs, this is exactly the kind of planning gap that turns metrics like WUE into real-world constraints. this isn't just a UK problem, it's becoming a global geopolitical issue. We're seeing nations tailor their entire AI strategy around access to water and energy. In the US, states like Arizona have become data center hotspots, but they're facing serious questions about water use in an arid climate. Meanwhile, petrostates like Saudi Arabia are investing billions into new cities like NEOM, planning for massive AI data centers by trying to integrate advanced sustainable cooling solutions from the start. Access to cooling is quickly becoming a critical under-the-radar factor in the global AI race. So while millions are creating viral videos, governments and tech companies are building the infrastructure to support it, potentially without a plan for one of our most essential resources. The cat is out of the bag on AI. But the explosive growth of these viral video tools is on a direct collision course with the finite supply of fresh water needed to power them. Every share and every creation has a physical footprint. The key takeaway here is to understand the full picture. While the energy cost to create one of these AI videos is significant, some experts point out that the cost to distribute it can be even bigger. The cumulative energy used to stream that viral video millions of times across the globe also adds up a cost that was already massive even before generative AI. The entire life cycle of digital content has a very real physical impact. We've been talking about the large-scale, often hidden costs of AI. Now, let's zoom into one of the most personal applications imaginable, healthcare, where a new app is raising its own set of complex questions. A creator watched his father, who has early-stage Alzheimer's, forget the vast majority of what his doctors told him. His biggest fear was not being by his bedside when something important was said. So he built an AI to solve what he calls the hidden risk in every healthcare consultation. A new app called Mirror from Oxford-based company Aid Health is now recording medical appointments and turning them into perfect, detailed summaries. It's designed to capture those moments of intense information when you have to digest high-stakes news in a very brief window. Now, when we place an AI summary alongside a simple recording, the distinction becomes critical. A recording is objective reality. A summary is an interpretation. The AI has to decide what's important, what's a firm instruction versus just a doctor thinking out loud. And this is where it gets tricky. Research into these large language models shows a real risk of what's called hallucination, the AI generating plausible but factually incorrect information. Studies have shown that even with top models, there can be a big gap between what looks good to a computer and what a human medical expert considers truly accurate. So while the goal is perfection, the reality is that this is a major technical challenge. One of the first people to use the platform said it left her quite stunned. Instead of having to go through everything again for friends and family, she could just send them a screenshot of exactly what the doctor said was going to happen next. We're seeing major competitors like Average or Nuance DAX selling their services directly to hospitals with a doctor-first approach, while at the same time, Aid Health's Mirror app is taking a completely different path. It's sold directly to you, the consumer. This creates a really interesting dynamic. It might be a harder path to make money, but it builds incredible brand loyalty and gives patients a sense of empowerment. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is what the creator Ian Wharton says is coming next. He says right now, the app is passive. It just listens and summarizes for you. But in the future, this technology will be your advocate. His exact words, it will chirp, it will speak out if it thinks there's something you should ask. This opens up a massive legal and ethical minefield. If an AI chirps a suggestion and the doctor follows it and something goes wrong, who is liable? The doctor, the AI developer? Current thinking and even evolving FDA guidelines suggest that the physician is almost always still responsible for the final decision, even if it's based on an AI recommendation. This is the AI advocate's dilemma. We want technology to help us, but we haven't figured out who takes the blame when the advocacy is flawed. This technology isn't just about helping patients remember what was said. The stated goal is to create an AI that actively advocates for you during the consultation itself. But here's one final thought to leave you with. The entire conversation is framed around the patient. But what about the other person in the room, the doctor? Medical associations are already debating this. How does being recorded by a third-party AI change how a doctor communicates? Research shows some physicians are very uncomfortable with it, worrying it could lead to defensive medicine where they become more guarded and less open, potentially eroding the fundamental trust that the doctor-patient relationship is built on. So while we empower the patient, we have to consider the impact on the entire medical dynamic.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.